Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, I need a minute. The first word that comes to mind for me is
Here she is, man.
hold on a second. All right, gang, so off the jump, just my apologies for not making this video sooner. I think in the original homebrew video, I lamented the fact that sometimes in business and in life, doing the things that you want to do are some of the hardest things to do because you have to take care of other things first. I'm thinking right now, I have meetings that are supposed to be happening, I got Zoom calls that are supposed to be happening. That for me has never been truer than trying to finish this homebrew and to make this video. We traveled to Australia, we traveled to New Zealand.
Wow.
I came right back into a major brewhouse expansion project, among many other things. Tewksbury construction is raging right now, and frankly, we just have a lot of things going on. So for me to be able to make these videos, especially this one, I have to carve out a lot of time, and it takes a ton of mine and Michael's energy. So I will say that your support in making these videos is greatly appreciated, and I do apologize for taking so long to make this one. When we brew here at Tree House, and when I brew personally, I have a strong belief in the energy to a specific batch of beer. In other words, the brew day is just the first step, and then caring for that beer through the cellar process and through the conditioning process requires focus and attention, basically 7 days a week, checking in on that beer periodically and doing everything you can to massage that beer to be the beer that you hope that it could be. And for this particular batch of homebrew, given our travel and given some of the daytime obligations that I and the team here at Tree House have, we didn't exactly care for it the way that we would normally care for a beer, given the priorities here at Tree House. So, we dry hopped it a couple of days late, and we conditioned it for a bit too long prior to bottling. But again, these are things that are the reality of what's happening here, and I just wanted to disclose that prior to tasting this. So as I do taste this, I think for you, this is going to be a really unique insight into what we do each day, how we taste our beer, how we consider how it turned out, and then how we discuss amongst the team here how we can improve it. It's up to you to develop your palate, decide what flavors you're chasing after, taste your homebrew, and then make adjustments based on what you're searching for. So for us here at Tree House, we're searching for a specific flavor profile. In this beer, I wanted something bright and fruity and tropical, but also have a little bit of bitterness on the back end that would entice your next sip while being sort of soft at the same time in a middle ABV range that wouldn't overwhelm your palate. So without further ado, with all my spiel, let's dive into it. Wow, color looks good. This is so exciting. It's my first homebrew in 10 years. Again, she was a bit neglected along the way, but not so much so that I don't think this is going to be a halfway decent pour. So again, the color looks good. Pretty much on target with that lighter color that we were going for. The foam isn't as sort of thick and creamy as I would have intended, so that might be something that I might troubleshoot on a subsequent batch, or perhaps the carbonation is a touch low. But again, that's something that we will look into as we reflect upon this batch and then try to improve the idea for subsequent batches. Oh yeah, aromatically it has like nice, almost like an orange creamsicle note. Good amount of tangerine, apricot, stone fruit, but like a lot of spicy grapefruit, kind of like sharper citrus oils and things like that are going on in the nose aromatically. It's interesting because it smells a touch overhop to me on the dry hop. It's a little bit earthy and vegetal, but the yeast phenolics and the yeast esters are fighting for attention, and then the base of that citrus, Simcoe, and Amarillo are expressive underneath a bit of earthiness. So let's have a taste. Wow, okay. All right, yeah, I need a minute. The first word that comes to mind for me is nostalgic. It's like I just drank a time machine. Very much so, this beer reminds me of what we used to make all the way back in Brimfield. It's a little bit unrefined, it's a little bit harsh around the edges, but at the core of it, you can taste that beautiful orange creamsicle fruitiness throughout the center of this beer. There's kind of a core of this beer that tastes wonderful, but around the edges it needs some work. So if I'm having to troubleshoot the process, troubleshoot the idea, certainly we would have dry hopped it a couple of days sooner, and we would have cared for it with a bit more of that energy that I spoke about in the intro. As far as the recipe formulation is concerned, I think it's lacking a little bit of sweetness, so maybe layering in a malt that brings up that maltiness in the back end to sort of carry and amplify that spicy grapefruit character that you're getting from the Amarillo and the tropical fruit that you're getting from Simcoe, I think would go a long way in rounding out this beer and balancing it. But I feel like everything in life is about rating, so if I had to rate this beer on a scale of 1 to 10, let's give ourselves a baseline. If Julius is a 10, in my mind, let's call Julius the standard, the gold standard for what we're comparing this beer to. Super drinkable, bright and tropical, never tires the palate, can drink it all the way through the glass time and time again. That's a 10 for me. I'd say this beer is a clean, drinkable, aromatic, a little bit astringent on the finish, a little bit over-conditioned, a little bit over-hopped, I think. Probably a 7.4, something to that effect, 7.4 to 7.6. Yeah, it's a nice, palatable beer. If this were my first homebrew, I'd be feeling pretty good about it, but in the scale of what we've made historically, this falls somewhere in the average category. But again, guys, I don't have a lot of time to homebrew like I used to. This is a treat for me to get to do this. It's so invigorating for me to get to engage with an audience. Again, there's a little bit of sadness in me tasting this beer, knowing that we can't give it our full attention, but at the same time, when something doesn't turn out perfectly that I work on personally, it haunts me. So I have been dreaming about this beer and thinking about the way that it was going to turn out. For me, this is just one of many, but it holds a special significance for me because we're engaging with an audience and because I made it on the equipment that we haven't used in 10 years. So hope you guys enjoyed this project. It's certainly not the last brewing-oriented project that we have in mind. In fact, right behind me there, we're going to be commissioning that brew house expansion in just a couple of weeks, and Michael and I will be there to cover all that. At some point, we're going to take you through a full brew from start to finish. We're going to continue to share some information that we think can help you guys on your path to making great beer at home. And for customers who are watching, just know that myself and the crew have never been more excited about the future with all the hop journeys and the hop selections, and the energy that we're pouring into our beer right now is as high and as focused as it's ever been. So the future is bright. I appreciate you guys watching. If you're not already a subscriber, please support us by subscribing. See you next time. Be good to each other. Do you remember this thing?
I do remember that thing.
Hey Dylan, we're gonna go downstairs and try to dig that Brew Magic out and use it. You got a minute? Brew Magic.
I'm not feeling the strike temperature over here, though. I'll tell you that.
Dylan, I need more cold.
More cold?